Barack Obama has imposed new sanctions against Iran. And this comes as the Pentagon has revealed that Iranian warplanes tried to shoot down a U.S. drone flying near Iran's border last week. RT's Ganesh Chikan has more.
President Obama's first moves after he won re-election have pretty much indicated that in the next 4 years, he will aggressively pursue the idea of the U.S. being the world police. The administration has imposed financial sanctions against the Iranian officials, who the U.S. blames for jamming satellite broadcasts and blocking internet access in Iran. That comes on top of a whole bunch of other sanctions that had been put in place by the U.S., which proved to be crippling for the Iranian economy, and the population there is suffering a great deal because of that. While campaigning, President Obama indicated that he didn't want to go to war with Iran, but that he would continue the sanctions policy. And that's what he's doing. We heard reports that the Obama administration might engage in direct talks with Iran at some point, but there has been no confirmation to that. As Israel threatens to attack Iran and the U.S. appears to be stopping them, some argue that the U.S. and Israel might be playing a good cop, bad cop diplomatic game there. Anyway, the administration's strategy appears to be to make Iran so desperate that they would agree to anything. But sanctioning Iran was probably not President Obama's very first move after winning this election. Government officials here said on Wednesday a U.S. drone strike targeted a group of al-Qaeda militants in Yemen, and the president had to authorize that, and possibly he did that within hours after his re-election. The use of drones has been highly controversial. It's quite clear not everybody hit by those drones are terrorists, and the administration so far has been far from transparent on how they pick the targets and basically authorize executions overseas. The UN has raised concerns about the legality of such executions. There has been a lot of criticism, especially after numerous reports of civilian deaths. In the meantime, this administration is set to rely on drones more and more. Another drone-related story this week, the Pentagon said the Iranian military had fired upon but did not hit a U.S. drone flying close to Iran. The Pentagon claimed the drone was there on a surveillance mission. So looking at some of President Obama's first moves after re-election, one could say he takes the idea of America being the world police very seriously. But the question is, who's going to hold that world police itself accountable?
Now, the U.S. has so far failed to use the bargaining opportunity the sanctions potentially have, says Reza Marashi, research director at the National Iranian American Council.
You can continue to ramp up the sanctions on Iran, but sanctions ostensibly are supposed to provide leverage at the negotiating table. If you're not using them as a negotiating chip when you're at the negotiating table, then all they are is a blunt instrument that ends up adversely affecting the lives of innocent Iranian people. This is the first instance in which we've seen Obama move forward on sanctions, and it remains to be seen whether or not he doubles down on the diplomatic track of his policy to try to find a peaceful solution to the crisis. But we haven't seen to date tangible evidence of these sanctions causing the Iranian government to change its strategic calculus on its regional policies or on more specifically its nuclear policy. And that's supposed to be the goal. That's the metric of success that both the Bush administration and the Obama administration have defined. We've seen the Obama administration really ramp up the amount of drone usage, whether it is Yemen or Pakistan, or even today we saw a report of the Iranian government shooting at an American drone that was off of its coast. So we're in uncharted waters when it comes to policy, American policy related to drones. And until we have some rules to this game that the international community can abide by, playing off the same script, then it increases the likelihood of a conflict that the United States and the international community, I think, would independently seek to avoid.